Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. My name's Jonathan. As always, I got the Masters crew with me. Doc, Alec, what's up, guys?
How we
What's
doing?
up?
Real good. Before we jump into today's show, as always, wanted to pass along. We are posting fresh orphans daily. It's the best way to get into a dynasty league, if you ask me. Previous owners paid your deposit, so you really only got to pay half. Tons of really good teams being posted. MastersFantasyFootballLeagues.com. Top of the homepage, you'll see the orphan link. I'll pass this over to Al. He's going to tell you a little bit about today's show.
Yeah, so actually right before free agency really kicked off, Aaron Jones re-signed in Green Bay, which was a little bit of a surprise because, we thought the franchise tag was possible. And then when they didn't tag him, they talked about, oh, we still want to bring him back. Mm-hmm. But I personally thought he was gone. And then, in the 11th hour, Aaron Jones signs an extension. It's a little bit of bad news for us AJ Dillon owners out there. But so we'll break it down a little bit for, how we think the outlook for Aaron Jones is as well as some of these other Green Bay running backs.
So in terms of Aaron Jones, I think we all kind of agreed this was the best destination for him. I mean, we know he's going to get used, in every way imaginable, and he's going to produce at a high level, which he has the last 2 years. So it seems like Jamal Williams is gone. So now it's just down to Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Again, and we had talked about it before the show. Again, not really sure what the Packers were doing last year. You would assume that AJ Dillon's going to have at least a somewhat big role as a second-round pick a year ago. But at the same time, Aaron Jones is the clear-cut top guy, and are you really going to give A.J. Dillon a lot of carries when you just gave Aaron Jones, $12 million a year?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
As I say, it's crazy because, at first I was, right on the same track in terms of, Green Bay is Aaron Jones' best destination.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking about the playoffs, and, they really used all three of those running backs a lot.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And I don't know, I still think Aaron Jones obviously is the starting running back and going to still be a really good fantasy running back. But maybe A.J. Dillon still does get a decent chunk of carries. And I don't know. It'll be interesting. But I feel like maybe like a 70-30 split is kind of...
Yeah, that's funny that you chimed in and said that because literally I was prepared to go on here and say, it's Aaron Jones, 1A. I hate Dillon. But as I was sitting there listening to you talk,
watching the playoff games, they used him.
That's a really good point.
I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the best of Aaron Jones that we've seen. Fantasy points wise.
Right.
Yeah. We all kind of expected a dip last year too, and then it didn't happen.
Right.
But
they also didn't use Dillon until week 16.
Right.
So,
but now it's kind of back to where it was, where they have two guys.
Right, because Williams is out of the picture.
So it'll be interesting
until they draft a guy in the fourth round.
Well, maybe a first rounder on this one. It'll be interesting to see because, as we're kind of talking, I feel like a little less good about Aaron Jones staying in Green Bay.
And I've said a bunch of times, if you go back, there was a point when Williams and Jones were 50-50.
Yeah.
And then he kind of separated himself. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now that I think of it, I'm actually liking Dillon just a little bit better.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I still think the Cleveland backfield is still way better. But this could be emerge as the second best tandem in the league if A.J. Dillon continues to, show what he showed at the end of last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They definitely have potential. And, we've talked about it before, the connection for LaFleur and Derrick Henry, and they used to try and run that running back. Ooh, was it Deion Lewis, I think, was the other one?
Lewis,
a little different here. Aaron Jones is a little more complete than Deion Lewis. But at the same time, if they want to use a power back, it makes you start wondering about touchdowns now, whereas Jamal Williams, you weren't really worrying. They're about similar size now. Maybe in there in the goal line, Aaron Jones might not get those carries now. Maybe A.J. Dillon does. So who knows how A.J. Dillon will eat into Aaron Jones's workload. But
so I think kind of just to tie this all together, and I feel like it's going to be exactly what we're all saying and thinking. We think, the opportunities might come down a little bit for Aaron Jones, but the efficiency should go up because he should be fresher.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe A.J. Dillon does eat in the carries, but, maybe the fantasy points stay the same because, he'll be, got fresh legs and can rip off that 70-yard touchdown run. And because we saw that in the playoffs. They were grinding with A.J. Dillon, and then Aaron Jones would go for 60 yards. So, I'm optimistic.
And on a separate note, just as a Packers fan, wouldn't you have rather seen them spend that money on one of these wide receivers?
Or even their center that they lost for $12 million a year, which is exactly what Aaron Jones got. But yeah, or a receiver. You know,
Just a little head scratch.
guys
Yeah.
like Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel, Kenny Galladay. Not that they would have probably went that big, but
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything they do just makes last year's draft seem a lot more head scratching and confusing. But
I'm just looking like at the offense as a whole, like going into next season. If you had Dillon as a starting running back, you know, Devontae Adams, insert any other wide receiver, don't you feel a
Right.
little bit better about
oh
that
yeah,
offense?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
I
So
thought- just fuck it.
We'll
yeah,
have to do another show on
it's
Green
it's
Bay.
interesting. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, overall, I mean, it's good for Aaron Jones. He's comfortable there.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, definitely.
And he'll be the lead pass catcher too.
sigh of relief.
Right.
Of the running backs, I should say.
Yeah.
Not overall.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of today's show. We're waiting for some of these other free agent dominoes to fall so we can come back and hit you guys with some more shows. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you could, hit the like and subscribe button. Come be a part of the Masters family. Any last words, guys?
That's all I got.
Boom. Bye, 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 bye.